Hi, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to Game Changer Chat. I'm your host, Zakiya Mabry. This month, we're going to be celebrating and recognizing mental health. We're going to be stopping at stigma and discussing it. Today, we have a very special guest, award-winning psychologist, Dr. Roz Baker Black. Roz, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you for coming back. So, for those who don't know about your background or how you got started in this field, please tell us what makes you an expert in mental health.
Well, I have a doctorate in clinical psychology with a specialty in child and family and forensics. And so I have spent years in the mental health world. I graduated in 2006. So about 12 to 13 years practicing mental health and providing therapeutic services to the private sector, government entities, and academia. So I've done the whole gamut of all that you can do with this type of degree.
Wow, you've done a lot. Okay, so we're all now in this COVID-19, and people are about to get back to engaging in work. Businesses are opening back up slowly. What advice do you have for people who are actually anxious and nervous about this whole transition of businesses opening and having to go back to their workplace?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it's quite scary because we can't see COVID-19 and we don't know who has it. So to be anxious right now at this time is absolutely normal. Do not judge yourself or feel bad or think that you're crazy because you're anxious during this time because it's an absolutely normal emotion to be experiencing right now. And so, what I would tell you is to make sure that you are safe. So, get your mask, get your gloves, take your temperature every single day. Do things that are in your control so that you don't feel powerless in this situation because typically that's when we feel anxious, when we feel powerless. So if you are prepared and you're doing your best with your hand sanitizer and I know it's hard right now to get hand sanitizer, but you can go on YouTube and learn how to make hand sanitizer, so you can make your own hand sanitizer at this point. And wearing your gloves, wearing your mask, taking your temperature, and just doing things, monitoring how you feel on a daily basis, and making sure that you aren't experiencing any of those symptoms of COVID-19.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, speaking of how you feel, what about individuals who have not been feeling themselves lately and they're feeling a little, they're not sure. Their emotions are out of sorts. They feel out of whack, but they're not sure what it is. How do you know when it's time to actually go for help about your mental health?
That's a great question. And many people, so here's the reality. You can feel anxious and not have an anxiety disorder. You can feel depressed and not have a mood disorder. And so you can have those symptoms and not have the disorder itself. When it gets to a point to where you can't function daily, that's when you need to start thinking about, that's when you need to see someone. So if it's impeding you, let's say going to work or going to church or functioning with your family in your home, then that's when you need to start reaching out to mental health therapists, the mental health community, and especially if it's lasting over a span of weeks. So with COVID-19, it's very different because I think we've been in quarantine maybe 7 weeks
Yeah.
at
Yes.
this
Since
point.
March 14th. Yes.
So, yeah, yeah. So, um, ordinarily, when we're not in this situation, anything past 2 weeks of where you're not feeling yourself, would require you to start really thinking about, do I need to see a mental health professional? But because we're in this COVID-19 pandemic and it's so different from what we've ever felt before, of
Mhm.
what we've ever experienced before. Not saying that the guidelines have changed in terms of the disorder, but it's okay to feel anxious. And that's really what I want people to understand, that it really is a normal reaction to what is going on right now, primarily because we can't see COVID-19. We don't know enough about it right now. And so it's stressful. And every day we are being force fed all types of different information about COVID-19. So it is okay right now to feel a little anxious, to feel a little frustrated, to feel a little sad, or it's rough or lonely. It's rough not right now, not being able to see our family members, not being able to get out in the community, not being able to see people. And so that does not, if you're feeling those emotions, it does not automatically mean right now during this COVID-19 pandemic that you have the disorders. But
Okay.
if it gets to a point to say, for instance, if you are working from home and it gets to a point to where you can't do your work, you can't function, like you can't concentrate, then it might be time to start to think about talking to a mental health professional.
Thank you for that. And to that point, a lot of people hear the terms anxiety disorder and they hear depression, clinical depression, and PTSD. What is the difference between anxiety disorder and depression so people know the difference?
Okay, that's a great question as well. So with anxiety, you are going to feel symptoms like irritability, um, anxious, just very anxious, and you don't know why, and an excessive worry. That is the cornerstone of an anxiety disorder. For depression, the cornerstone, those symptoms are feeling helpless, feeling hopeless. There's a change in your eating. There's a change in your sleeping pattern. So it is two distinct disorders, but it does not mean that they can't both occur at the same time. So you can be very anxious, worried, and fearful, and still feel hopeless and helpless. So they are comorbid with each other, because if you think about it, if you are very anxious and you can't control your thoughts and you can't control your fear or your worry about something, that is more than likely going to put you in a saddened state, so to speak. So that's pretty much the difference, but it does not mean that they cannot occur together. And oftentimes, although they're two different disorders, they may occur with a person at the same time. So you may experience both.
Thank you. And for the viewers watching this, please hit the like button if you're watching this so that we know that we're actually reaching you. And please type in the comment section where you're tuning in from and ask any questions that you have. And when we go to the questions and answers section, we'll ask your questions. So please right now just type your name and put where you're tuning in from, and be sure to click that like button. Okay. So, can you tell us about some of the challenges you believe individuals with mental illnesses face? As we talk about stomping out stigma, we know there are a lot of challenges that individuals with mental impairments have. What are some of the challenges that you've observed?
Lack of education. So not knowing what you're feeling, not knowing what you are experiencing, and because of that, you're afraid to tell someone. Like, I feel sad, or I feel really depressed, or I feel suicidal.
Yeah.
Which, let me just be honest, that is not a normal. That is not normal. And so immediately, if you are feeling suicidal, then you should reach out for help immediately, because that's not a normal emotion that most people experience. But so yeah, so just in terms of really just understanding what you're feeling, a lot of people, they lack the education of knowing what psychopathology is, what it looks like, and they just know that they just feel different from everyone else. But in them feeling different from everyone else, that puts them in a place of feeling shameful or embarrassed. And so, because of that, they're afraid to reach out for help. Or, we have this idea that if you need help, then that means that you're weak. The bravest
Mm-mm.
thing that you can do for yourself is to reach out for help. That is the absolute bravest thing that you can do. If you are feeling in any kind of way that you're not feeling right, something's just not clicking for you, then reach out for help and don't be afraid to reach out for help. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's why we have psychologists, mental health therapists, clinicians, psychotherapists, social workers. That's why we're all here to help you.
Yes, absolutely. And to add on to that, telemedicine, a lot of HIPAA regulations have been relaxed a little bit, to my understanding, due to the COVID-19. Is that correct? And so therapists can actually have more remote sessions with clients.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're doing teletherapy. And so
Yes.
you just like you and I are having this conversation right
Mhm.
now, you can have this conversation with your therapist. So
Yes.
just in this format, in the comfort of your home, and they're probably in the comfort of their home right now because we're all
Mhm.
in quarantine. So absolutely. So it's making access to mental health care a bit easier, to gain
Mhm.
access for help. So, absolutely, yes, they've relaxed some of the standards. But I do want to say this, that confidentiality is still the hallmark of a therapeutic relationship, and so that is still in place. So your conversations are still protected. So yeah, don't let that be the thing to stop you from reaching out, thinking that someone else is going to find out, because it's against the law for for any therapist to tell your business, basically. And I know in certain communities it's just very hard. We're like, we don't want people to know what's going on. We don't want people to know our business. But we can't, by law, we cannot share your business with anyone unless we are subpoenaed by a legal system. But outside of that, what you say to us is confidential and it is protected by law. So absolutely do not let the idea of I don't want people in my business to stop you from getting help.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that point up about in a particular community. I know that in the African American and the Brown community, there's a lot of stigma and shaming going on if you go get help. And Taraji G. Henson is doing a great campaign when she's actually trying to break down those barriers. And I just shout out to her for what she's doing and others who are a part of that movement because it's like you said before, it's actually an act of courage when you actually go to get help. So changing topics just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
Mhm. Well, I was just going to say that, I'm a Christian and I believe in prayer just like every other Christian, but I also believe in therapy. God
Yes.
created therapy for those who need it. So you can pray and still
Mhm.
go to therapy to get help. And that does
Yeah.
not make you less of a Christian. That does not make you less than trusting in the Lord. That makes you
Mhm.
actually smart and knowing that when God is sending you help and when to reach out and take the help.
Absolutely. And I received that help, especially being
Oh, yeah.
quarantined since March 14th. A lot of people have stresses being home with their children, their significant other, their husbands. It's a lot. You have your work balancing workplace and then being around your partner all the time, your children, helping them with the lesson plans and when what strategies do you have to help you remain calm or um, during this time? Because I know for me, yeah, I mean, you like your partner, but it's a lot when you've been together for
Yeah.
14. It's almost
No,
every
it is.
outlet.
I, I love my husband dearly, but sometimes we need those minutes of that time apart.
Yes.
And that's normal. That is
Right.
absolutely normal
Mhm.
because you aren't used to being together every
Right.
single day. We have so many other life distractions. But that
Mhm.
first line of defense that you
Mhm.
need to take is actually acknowledging that you do feel some kind of way. Because
Okay.
oftentimes we try to push away how we feel because we
Mhm.
don't want to be judged about our feelings. And so if we
Mhm.
are anxious, if we are nervous, if we are frustrated, if we are irritated, we try to push that away. And when you push those things away or when you try to act like it's not there, it becomes a bigger issue. So
Mhm.
acknowledge how you feel. That's your first line of defense. Be real with yourself about what you're experiencing. Because once you become honest with yourself and understand what you are feeling, then you can have a plan of action. And so,
Mhm.
a couple of things that for people who are feeling anxious right now, things that you can do is like the I Believe in the Calm app. It is amazing. It takes you through these meditations to calm you down because it's physically impossible to be anxious and relaxed at the same time. And so, giving yourself that opportunity to calm your nerves, to calm your mind, take a deep breath, take a walk outside, or just stand outside. You'd be
Mhm.
surprised at how just walking outside can change your whole mood state. Now, make sure you wear your gloves and make sure you have on your mask, but taking a brisk walk and getting exercise in so that you are giving yourself the ability to breathe and have your own space, to have your own space, because that's what's causing the irritability. Our personal space is being invaded and we feel like we don't have any privacy or we don't have time to ourselves. So creating that time for yourself. And if you have little ones, create projects with them that are soothing projects. So, like doing a family paint night, and you can actually, do a project around having them paint what they feel about COVID-19. Because little ones are kids. If we're stressed out, you can only imagine what they're going through, but they just
Right.
don't know how to verbalize it. So giving them an outlet to verbalize their feelings, in a way that's comfortable for them and in a way that it doesn't seem like it's a lot of work for them to do. So just being very creative with this time of being stressed out. Right now is a great time for you to actually figure out what you are creative in. Write that book that you've always wanted to write. Start that podcast. Start a YouTube show. Do whatever it is that you didn't have time to do before. Use this time now to see and explore things because it that distraction will take away from the anxiety of having to be quarantined and stuck in the house with your loved ones when they get on your nerves.
Absolutely. Hit like if that helps you, because I know it helped me. So I'm hitting double like for it. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate when you said the creative therapy because art is helpful for me. Like, I didn't do the two that are stacked side by side on top of each other, but I did the big one, and that was when I was going through some emotions and I just needed to do some art therapy and get it all out. So I actually have
Nice.
some canvases left from my vision board parties that I had, or vision board sessions that I had earlier this year, and I'm planning to release some stress on canvases later on this week. So thank you for that tip.
Absolutely. I pulled out my canvases and my paint
Uh-huh.
for this weekend. I'm not artistic like you. I don't know what I'm gonna paint, but I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do
Yes,
something.
yes.
While
So,
watching, look, I'm gonna paint while watching Becoming.
oh
Michelle
yes,
Obama's
I
Becoming.
haven't seen. Yeah, I need to watch Becoming too. That's gonna be a very
Yeah,
relaxing weekend. Um,
absolutely, absolutely.
what? Oh well, when we're talking about that, I know you've talked before about the social physical distancing and how to navigate this during this time. So it just reminded me when you say you're going to be watching Becoming. Do you plan to, can you share with the viewers how you sometimes watch movies with your friends that helps fill that, I don't want to say void, but makes the connectedness of being with other people?
Absolutely. You know, this time I have seven best friends, which I know people are like, that's a lot of people, but we all met in college, and then I have one childhood best friend, and we get together every Friday night on this app called Duo, which is free. You can download it to your phone or to your tablet or your computer. And I mean, we have 6 hour long conversation, marathon conversations, and just talking about all kinds of stuff. You know, Zoom parties are a big thing. People are doing, there's another app called House Party that people are utilizing. So there are all these ways that you can connect to others. You know, you just have to be creative and find the way. So with my mom, you know, she and I, we watch shows together over just the regular our phones, that, you know, we video each other on our phones, and it's like, what are you watching? And then we just, you know, we watch the show together. So, you know, I mean, she's in Georgia, I'm here in the DC area, so that, you know, physically we're so far apart, but that kind of connects us. And that's one thing that we've been doing throughout this pandemic is, you know, just connecting that way, just watching a show together. So absolutely be creative with your friends, your sisters. So every Friday, I mean every Sunday, my family, my whole extended family, does a Zoom. And then after that Zoom, then I get on Facebook Messenger with my sisters and my mom, and then we carry on the conversation. And I love the little Facebook Messenger thing because you can do like all the little faces. And I think you can do that in House Party as well. You can play games in house party or whatnot. So that's even great if you are, you know, communicating with nieces and nephews that are not with you, you know. So there are, you know, so many things now. Technology is amazing in that you can use really all these free apps to really connect. And I look for Friday nights to connect with my girlfriends. We've had a couple of birthday, three of them, yeah, three of them have celebrated birthdays since we've been in this pandemic, and we've literally had like birthday parties with D Nice playing on Instagram. You know, we had a birthday brunch on Sunday for one of my girlfriends. So, you know, and it felt like we were. I mean, we all got dressed up and thought, and like we were really going to the party. So, yeah, you know, on Sunday night, I'm looking forward to the battle between Jill Scott and Erica Badu. So all of our friends will be on that Instagram battle. So there are ways that you can connect and that you should connect with your friends so that you can not be in that place of loneliness, because
Right.
you know 7 weeks is a long time to be quarantined. It's a long time to not see families. So utilize technology in any way that you can, you know, just so that you can feel like you have proximity to those that you love.
Great examples, and I know that I'm going to be downloading the party one you mentioned. And Mother's Day is coming this weekend, so those are some ideas that you guys can utilize to still connect with family. Have a Zoom party with your loved ones, since it's still not recommended to travel to different states, even though some of the elected officials are opening. It's still not a good idea to do so. So make it a virtual party and still be connected to your loved ones. And of course, graduations have been canceled. Physical graduations have been canceled. So utilize that to still celebrate with your loved one. And so thank you so much, Dr. Ross, for those nuggets. Now we're going to switch gears a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit and talk about the lived experience. Why do you think it's so important that individuals who actually have mental illnesses, PTSD, bipolar, depression, whatever it is, for them to actually be use their authentic voice and share their story when they feel comfortable?
Yeah, because the public needs to know, you know, and part of it, you know, thankfully, I'm not experiencing any psychopathologies, but I don't know what it's like to live with bipolar. I don't know what it's like to live with anxiety. So the only people that can really authentically tell us that are those that are experiencing these difficulties. And so being able to share their experience, being able to lend their voice also allows them to be an advocate for what they need and how we treat them. And so being able to get your story out is a great way to be an advocate for your needs as well. So, there are so many of us we lack the education of mental health difficulties, and being able to hear it from someone who is open and willing to share their experience is for the greater good of the community, because it opens our eyes and it makes us all aware, and it mitigates the stigma and the shame that can come from having, from that people with mental health difficulties experience.
Thank you for that. That is so true. As we continue to go along, I'm going to check to see if there are any questions. Hit the like button and let me go over and see what questions we have. 1 second.
Okay.
Just read the question. Hi, I'm Cynthia. All right, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to drop them in the box because we have a couple more questions and then we'll be wrapping up. So hit the like button and drop your questions. So, why is it more important now than ever for organizational leaders to actually
Mm.
have a healthy organizational culture where everyone is feels included in the environment?
Because it changes the culture of the organization. And when people feel included, or when people feel heard, or when people feel as if they matter, then they perform better for you. Bottom line, if I feel like you care about me, if I feel like you understand me, if I feel like I matter to you, then I am going to give you my best. I am going to enjoy the place that I work at. And I am going to be one of your frontline people who is actually out here telling the world why your company is the best. So if you send people away, if your employees do not feel valued, then they go out and tell the world that they don't feel valued. They hate this job. And
Absolutely.
so they are ruining your brand because they don't feel, and not that they're doing it purposefully, but
Mm-hmm.
because if they don't feel they matter, then people have a right to tell their story. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you want your organization to be one where it's highly respected, then you have to respect the people that work for you. So you have to create this culture where people feel like they matter, where they feel like their issues matter, where they feel like they're heard. Because once people know that they can trust you, and that's the key word there. If I feel like I matter to you, I'm going to trust you more. And
Mm-hmm.
once I can feel like I can trust an organization, I'm more willing to give my all to an organization.
Absolutely.
So it's just very important to make sure that those that, because as an employer, your employees are in your care.
Mm-hmm.
They are, because they're in the care of your product, they're in the care of your brand. These are the frontline people that are out here promoting you. And so you need to make sure that they are in a place of where they feel like they want to promote you at their best. And the best way to do that is to make sure that your organization is functioning in a healthy space. So making sure that you have a culture where if someone is experiencing any kind of mental health difficulties, that they're heard and they're not ostracized, and that they're
Yes.
given an opportunity to be better. They're given an opportunity to grow. They're given an opportunity to have help if that's what they need. Yeah.
You hit some amazing points. Thank you, Dr. Roz, that the culture needs to be inviting, open, so the person can feel appreciated. And if there are any issues, make so the person feels comfortable actually going to that leader. That is so
Yes.
important because often, like we've talked about, there's a lack of awareness and understanding. So therefore, that might be a training indicator that that might be a deficit where you might need some training. And it's not just check the box training. It might be something deep, like reboot of your organization to see what exactly is going on to bring up the engagement and the numbers. Because a lot of times, and I'm speaking from my perspective as an individual, anxiety, and also work in HR for several over 15 years. They just want individuals want to bring in the people, so it's like check the box, is when it comes to
Mhm.
diversity. But it's more about the
Mhm.
inclusiveness and the quality once you have them on board. Because, like you said, do they have promotion opportunities? If they're having any challenges, are you there to actually help them once they're on board? Because just getting them on board, okay, great, but are you going to help them grow within your organization? So I appreciate all the words of wisdom that you just dropped right there. Um, Now, can we talk about how do you view racism? How does that impact mental health?
One,
That's a loaded question.
access.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah. One, access to healthcare, access to mental health providers. And here's the truth. And we don't talk about that. Well, we should talk about this more, but having culturally competent therapists so that we are not just diagnosing people with behavioral issues when it may not be a behavioral issue. And I'll give you an example. A lot of minority boys, black boys,
Mhm.
will exhibit symptoms of ADHD, attention hyperactive disorder, or ODD, was oppositional defiant disorder, and they may really be depressed. So it may not be a behavioral thing at all, but if you're not culturally competent enough to actually be able to look at the big picture of what's going on with the client and to conceptualize it in a cultural way, then you may treat them, you may give them the wrong treatment plan. So you may miss what they really need, because you are not culturally competent enough to recognize that there's another issue that's going on that is a bigger issue than the behavior. And behavior becomes the big issue because that's what we can see. Everyone can see you misbehaving, but people don't know if you're sad, or you're sleeping. Like, people don't see that. And so that's a huge, huge problem, in the psychological world, if a therapist is not culturally competent, because they may be treating them for the wrong thing. If it's a psychiatrist, they may be giving them the wrong medication, so not really looking at the big picture of what's going on with an individual. So I mean, and it happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens. And if you don't have experience working with certain populations, then sometimes people go off stereotypes, which
Mm,
which is problematic. So it's really hard, on the therapist end, on the psychologist end, on the social worker end. It's really hard to work with the population if you don't understand it.
mhm,
So, most of our programs really force us to become culturally competent clinicians. And so, it all depends on, and I apologize, we're home. My dog is barking. I apologize.
hi.
But it all really depends on, Yeah, they're deer in my backyard. Sorry. And he gets fascinated with them. But it truly depends on how competent the psychologist is.
Thank you. Hit the like button. I'm seeing Adrian says thank you for covering this grants for mental health programs. Mark says he completely agrees. He has over 450 staff, and I rarely call 15 people per week to check in with them and have a weekly
All
vlog.
right.
Feedback is good. That's excellent, Mark. Wow.
That is
That's really
excellent.
good.
That's great.
And one thing I wanted to ask you when you were just talking about having competent therapists that recognize the culture of the client that they're serving. I tell people the analogy I like to give them is when you're looking for a therapist, it's like shopping for a car. I mean, you have to really know what you're looking for, what model you want. Do you want an SUV? Do you want a sports car? Do you want black? You have to know all the different things that you want. Do you want red to go fast? Do you want a woman? What checklist do you tell people to go through when they're shopping for a therapist for themselves?
Well, that's a great question because you're right. A lot of people think that you go to therapy, they wave a magic wand, and you're healed. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not ever going to be the case. Ever. I, I want to clarify that. That will never be the case. We are not magicians, right? But I also
Mm-hmm.
tell people that like finding a therapist is like searching for the perfect shoe. You will try a lot on before the right one fits. And
Of course,
so
you would
when
say
you
that.
yeah, and when you are looking for a therapist, you want to make sure that this person has experience in what it is that you are struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what's their background? Are they trauma focused? And if you've had trauma, then that's definitely somebody that you want to check out. But if that very first initial consultation doesn't work, I'm so sorry, so sorry. If that initial consultation doesn't work out, it don't be afraid to find to look for another
Mm-hmm.
therapist. Don't be
Right.
afraid to look for someone else and
Mm-hmm.
and and ask that therapist for a referral because we get it, we understand. And if we aren't meshing, then we don't mind referring you out because we want to make sure, as therapists, as psychologists, we want to make sure that you are getting care regardless if it comes from us. We want to make sure that you're getting the care that you need. And so we will make a referral for you if we aren't meshing. Because there are times when I've seen clients and I'm like, I'm really not that skilled with what you are dealing with. And I think this therapist may serve you better. So there are times that therapists will make a referral themselves because at the end of the day, again, we just want to make sure that you are getting served and that your needs are met. So our feelings are not hurt if
Oh,
you don't choose us.
mhm.
They're not hurt at all. We
Okay.
want you to be, and that's no slight to the therapist. That doesn't mean that that therapist isn't a great therapist. It's just that therapist may not be in a space to deal with your needs.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm pretty sure that helped a lot of people. Uh, can you talk to how can we get the community involved in this campaign of stomping out stigma and bringing more awareness to the mental health illnesses? I know you are so involved in the community in which you live, and you're a part of so many organizations. But can you just give some tips on how other people can get involved in their local communities?
You know what? You can volunteer in your local shelters. You can volunteer at your local food banks because unfortunately, a lot of people that are coming through there are, some may have mental health challenges. And so you being able to see it up front and see that someone who has mental health difficulties is really no different from you. That here's the honest to goodness truth. All of us are one step away from a mental health breakdown. And the difference is from people who have one and people who don't is that you have figured out a coping mechanism that doesn't take you to that place, or you may have education and you go and get help. You may be educated on what a disorder looks like, and you may notice it a lot sooner that you are struggling with some things than someone who's not educated. So we are all one step away, and you know anything can happen to us. We could have a trauma tomorrow that changes the whole trajectory of our life. And so volunteering with organizations that like NAMI, NAMI is a
Oh,
great
absolutely.
organization. Yeah, great organization to volunteer at, or you can volunteer at some of these helplines, for people who
Mm-hmm.
are feeling suicidal, just giving your time and understanding, difficulty, and not being so quick to judge and just saying this person is like this because they're poor.
Yeah.
Because there are a
Yeah.
lot of wealthy people who deal with mental health issues as
Mm-hmm.
well. They just have the money to go into treatment. They
Mm-hmm.
have the money to go and get treatment sometimes. So mental health does not discriminate at all. It does not discriminate. It does not care if you're skinny, rich, poor. It doesn't care. It happens to any of us. And so getting involved in learning and becoming aware and just making a choice not to judge.
Yes.
That's where it really begins. No
Mm-hmm.
judgment.
No judgment. Be kind. It would seem like these are all just very simplistic things, but we're not doing it. So it must not be as simple as we think because it's not happening. Um,
Yeah.
Dr. Wise, what are some of your final thoughts that you would like to leave the viewers with?
Oh, here's the thing. If you are feeling as if things are not normal for you and you're normal and you're feeling that things are out of whack, do not be afraid to reach out for help. Sometimes it's something as simple as adjustment disorder. Sometimes it's something as simple as you've had some kind of tragedy or some loss and you just need help getting back on track. And so it may not be this really death defying thing that's going to make you ostracized from the world. It may not be that. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to um, get help for yourself and be an advocate for yourself. If you feel as if you are going through something, say it. Don't be afraid to say it. That's what we're here for. We're here to hear everything because we can't help you if we don't know. If we don't know what you're going through, we can't help you. So be an advocate for yourself. Write it down if you have to. Journal, like on this day I felt this way and this happened and I'm not sure what to think of that, or I'm not sure if it's anything, or maybe it's nothing, but this is how I felt. And don't be afraid to share that with your clinician. Don't be afraid at all. And no, I like to always leave an audience with resources. And my favorite resource to leave everyone is that in any city in the US of A, you can dial 211 and get mental health resources, housing resources, hear about food banks. You can get social service resources, anything that you need. You just simply have to just dial 211 and you'll be connected to local resources wherever you live. So there is help out there.
Thank you, Roz. Hit like button
You're
if
welcome.
this has been like helping you. And hold on one. I think we have a question.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, more comments. What's the comment? Andrew, talk loud. Use your army voice.
Oh, he cut out. I couldn't hear him.
He couldn't hear you. Mia said, what? Okay.
Chase.
Hey, Mia. Okay. Also, individuals, we're going to continue to do this series throughout the whole month of May. So if there's some points that you would like more information about, just let me know. And Dr. Ross, can you please also share your contact information? How can the viewers get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is www dot I am Doctor, that's Dr. Roz.com. So I am drroz.com. I am on social media at Dr. Roz Aker Black. That's DrRozakerblack. So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Those are the only social media handles, and LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn as well under Roslyn Aker Black, and that's Roslyn with an E. So ROSELYN, and then Aker AKER dash Black BLACK.
Okay. Thank you so much for being our guest. And everyone, I have a new Facebook group called DI Game Changers. And I invite you to be a part of that where we'll be discussing DEI topics that are relative to what's going on. And we'll also have some free diversity and inclusion trainings. Tonight, tune in because we'll be having a giveaway. And the link to that is bit.ly/DEIGC. I'll put it in the comments. But you're welcome to join. Everyone, have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you, Roz.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Bye bye.